I'm joined today with Eric Gong, who's an ex-VP of engineering and is now the founder and head recruiter for his very own practice. And he's got incredible insight into what companies are looking for, how to market yourself in a positive way, and how to make sure you stand out to anyone that's going to make a decision on your future as far as career-wise and job-wise. So thank you so much for taking this time to be with us today, Eric. I genuinely appreciate this.
That's a heck of an intro, Danny. I hope I live up to it. Let's have some fun and help some people.
I'm definitely looking forward to this. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions that I ask pretty much everyone to get a kind of an idea. Why, especially in your case, why do you want to be in recruiting? Like, what is this to you instead of being a VP of engineering?
Yeah, so thanks for the question, Danny. So I was VP of engineering at Semaphore, and my whole career, I only worked at startups. And what I noticed over my whole career is at every single job, the thing that I was most passionate about was bringing in talent to a company, right? So when I was at Semaphore, I grew the team. When I got there, it was about 8, and I grew the team to about 40. And when I ended up leaving Semaphore, I asked myself, what am I the most passionate about? And what came up was recruiting, bringing in talent to companies. And so I decided to do that full time and build up my own company, Eric Gong and Company. So there you are.
That works. And please, if you have any questions after the session, don't hesitate to check out his Twitter channel and reach out, get advice and get tips. And he's phenomenal at what he does. So I'm a big believer. I don't like filling out applications. Applications are not the thing for me. And I'm very big about networking, leveraging my network, messaging people, and getting positions and interviews like that. How do you feel about that? Should someone put a lot more merit into filling out applications, or should they try to network and develop those connections?
Yeah, that's a great question, Danny. And I would just highly advise to network as much as possible. There's a saying out there, I'm going to mess it up. Your network is your net worth. Did I get that right?
I like that.
And
Yeah,
I think that's absolutely true. Target the people that know you and believe in you, even if they're not in tech, right? Like maybe they might be related in some way. They will be those people that are able to give you references or referrals, and maybe they might know someone at a company somewhere. So you definitely want to network. And when I came out of boot camp, so my background is in 2013, I quit my finance job and I went to General Assembly boot camp, right? And when I came out, applying to jobs was the worst thing, right? You would put out 1,000 applications and maybe get 5 calls back. And that's the worst waste of time. I found the best way is putting yourself out there, cold emailing, cold outreach, try to get warm introductions from people that you might know from your boot camp or maybe even from Twitter. So highly advise trying to network as much as possible.
I completely agree with this. And one thing I think people lose track on is like how to network properly. Don't message a hiring manager or a recruiter saying, "Hey, how you doing?" Nobody's replying to that. What you need to be sending as an example would be, "Hey, I saw that you posted this job. Here are 3 reasons why I'm beyond phenomenal for this position, and I would love to have a conversation further." You give them action items to work on, you hook them, and you get them to look at your profile to even see if you're worth talking to. So how do you suggest messaging someone that you've never messaged before?
Yeah, so Danny, you gave the perfect advice, and I'll give the secret to everyone out there. In my whole career, every single person who has messaged me, I have responded. Guess what? People don't message me. I'll get thousands of resumes through the ATS and never look at one. But on LinkedIn, if you message me, I will respond and I'll say like, "Hey, you're a good fit," or maybe, here's some points that you might want to work on, and get back to me in 6 months. So listen to Danny, just cold email, but do it in a friendly way, right? Don't say like, "Hey, what's up?" or "Hello." Just state exactly what you're looking for in a way that I can respond to you. And if you're friendly about it, I would say that the good-hearted hiring managers out there, you got to have a much higher percentage. Not saying every hiring manager will respond, but I personally responded to every single one of them. So if on LinkedIn you could call me out, right? If you message me and I never responded, you could post a picture if you want. I'm pretty sure I've responded to every single person that's ever come through that's a candidate.
And one thing I'll say about that is on LinkedIn, a lot of people have this misconception of, well, I'm not looking for a job right now, so I'm not going to update this thing, or I'm not looking for a job right now. I'm not even going to consider updating my profile or anything like that. I think you're doing a disservice to yourself because when it's time to look for that job, you're going to be several weeks behind the curve of even popping up on a search. Like the changes that you make today will not reflect today. It takes a little bit of time for you to pop up wherever you need to pop up. I don't think that you need to really put yourself behind. I'm not saying you need to be on LinkedIn like you're on Twitter or something else, but you do need to be on LinkedIn pretty regularly to make sure, like, you never know what opportunity will come. You don't know what is going to benefit from something. So why not keep that active? Why not keep that going? And the other thing with that too is, I mean, I've been approached by several companies. For example, this week alone, I was in 515 job searches. I'm not looking for a job. I have my dream job right now, but I mean, we're in COVID, right? Like, if I lose everything, what am I supposed to do at that point? If I start working on it now, then I'm going to be well behind where I need to be. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and share this screen. Thank you for everybody that's joining in the chat. If you have questions, try to list them. I see this one question about portfolio that I'll try and jump to in a little bit. So to quickly answer this, what to list on your portfolio needs to be attractive to a non-technical person because most hiring managers have never coded in their life. So if it's at least semi-attractive, then they're going to be very inclined to call you back. And with that, your portfolio items need to be very heavy in what you are doing technically. So that way, you know, it's showing your technical savvy. So when a manager actually looks at it, they can see the code that you're doing and things like that. I hope that answers that question for you. All right. So what I'm going to do here, let me zoom this in slightly so it's easier for everybody to see.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do here is we're going to break down these profiles section by section, and you tell me what you like, what you dislike.
Sure.
Be very blunt, though. And I've told everybody we're going to be very blunt because when we're blunt, they can make the actions that help them land on these jobs. So if we sugarcoat it, they're not going to do the right moves that we need them in order to be profitable in what they're doing. And I just want to highlight that.
Oh,
all right. So, thank you, everyone in the chat. Thank you. And thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I'm glad that it helped. So we're on this page. So what do we like? What do we dislike? What do you think so far?
Yeah. Awesome. So I'll just preface that my background is all in startups. And I'm coming from the perspective of a hiring manager at startups, right? So what I like. So first, the huge the banner, I think that's actually something that people should put into consideration. It shows that you're kind of thoughtful about your background. So I think the banner is nice. A profile picture that has the majority headshot, I think is great. Author at dev community. So I think that's an important line. So what I would advise here is Sean Humphreys. Depending on how you want to position yourself, you know, if you're positioning yourself to a hiring manager, I would probably focus on who you are as a dev. If you are selling yourself as a author and book writer, this line is very important because I can tell you that, let's say I looked at your resume and I was like, oh, this person looks good. I'm going to go to their LinkedIn and check them out more. I may get a conflicting message about what you're trying to send. If you're saying you're a full stack dev, I'm coming over here and seeing your author, I might lose my attention. And everyone's got to know the attention span of a hiring manager is far less than a normal human being. I put out a tweet the other day that I saw there was a thread on LinkedIn, right? Hiring managers look at profiles during their lunch, during boring meetings, whenever they could squeeze in time. So that's a long way of saying, if you want to position yourself as a full stack dev, you may want to state that instead of author. So that's what I'm saying so far.
I will also say to ergo on that, and some people have a slightly conflicting number, but the industry average is around 6 to 10 seconds on a resume or profile. And that's when they decide, I'm going to invest more time in digging more, or I need to go on to the next one. You need to give them as much information in the easiest way possible to determine whether it's worth spending more time on you. So now let me ask you this, and I agree with you. This is definitely a conflicting message unless his goal is to be an author. But if his goal is to get a job in tech, I would imagine that he'd want to list the position that he wants. So he ends up in searches for that position. And he should list the language that he specializes in. For example, I'm a React developer, whatever it may be. So that way, that's the first place it pops up on a search. All right. So I agree with you also on the banner. I don't think this is a smart idea here. So we move down here and we're at the about section. What do you think about this about section?
All right.
And also, are you the type of person that thinks you need to have like a long, detail-driven about section? Or are you like the short and sweet, needs to get the point across really quickly?
My attention span is probably in that 6 to 10 seconds. So if you can tell me, so like when I look at a profile, I just need you to tell me quickly, how qualified are you? Right. So I like the short and sweet. So I'm seeing here, highly motivated full stack JavaScript React developer seeking an entry level opportunity in utilizing React and Node.js for a software engineering role. I think that's perfect.
Right.
That's telling me exactly where your skill set is and what you're looking for. And I would highly advise, no matter what your level is, to probably do something along these lines, because it allows me to bucket you, right? In my mind, I'm trying to figure out if I'm hiring entry level, fine. I want to find that profile. If I'm hiring mid or senior only, I really want to find that profile. So making it easy for me is beautiful. So short and sweet.
All right. And the other thing, like some of these terms he needs to have in his title up here, because obviously now we know he's an author, but really his goal is to be a developer. That message is definitely not getting across now at this point.
Yeah.
So what do we think about his featured section?
Let's see. So I developed a front-end mobile-friendly web application that displays the current COVID-19 cases into visual data. So I think that's good. I think I think we want to be extremely tailored here, right? So I think if this is the only project you've ever done, certainly put it on. But for the exact kind of role you want to go for, those are skills that you want to display. So you're going for a full stack JavaScript React developer role. Make sure that this project is going to reflect that. So front end mobile friendly React web application. Yeah, I think that's great. I would probably click on this and see and try to assess very quickly kind of the skill set. But I like this.
I agree. And so now and one point that I kind of want to touch on for everybody, since we have several people here. What do you think about the follower number? Do you think this matters at all, or does a higher follower number like lean you towards being more accepting of them, or does lower follower count matter? What do you think about that?
I personally don't really care. I mean, like, I guess, yeah, I think at the end of the day, numbers to me don't really matter. So like, if you have a high follower count, doesn't mean you're a good dev. If you have a low follower count, doesn't mean you're a bad one. And especially going to like number of years, like I know some hiring managers care about that. I personally don't care how many years of experience you have. Just show me what you're good at.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the reason when I ask that is I know some people are like, well, I only have 20 followers, so no one's going to really consider me for a position. Your follower count does not equate to you being a valuable asset to a company. So do not worry about that. Just worry about what you're bringing to the table. If you bring value, they will consider you valuable. So that's the reason why I asked that. I don't want anyone thinking, that it matters so much. All right, so we're here now, and the first obvious mistake is he's misspelled author. So I don't know how good of an author that you're going to be if you're misspelling your title there.
For a second, I thought he worked for Auth0, and
yeah, so did I. And I saw the symbol. So what do we think about, minus the typo, which obviously he needs to fix?
Yeah.
But what do we think about this section here? Is it doing justice for him?
So it seems as though Sean does not yet have experience.
Correct.
Which is why he is trying to put something to show experience. And it's kind of the chicken and egg. If you don't have experience, how you guys show experience? So I
I've got a
would.
good answer for that later.
Oh yeah, and I would love to hear it because I'll just give you my gut feeling. Okay, I'm coming here as hiring manager. If I'm looking for entry level dev, okay, I don't see any experience. So I would start to bucket this person in my mind as this person is looking for an entry level role without any experience whatsoever. So now I would probably be looking for like any kind of internships or open source contributions or something like that. So I would say that certainly a typo is not great. So certainly proofread your resume, but those are things that certainly come to mind right now.
Also, stream, I'm sorry if I keep looking this way because I'm sharing this screen, so I can't have the chat and everything. So I keep glancing here. It's not that I'm not paying attention. It's I just looked at like the screen. I was like, man, I really look like an a-hole. That's not what I'm trying to do here.
It's all
But
good.
yeah. So I agree. And here's one thing. I feel like this document and your resume are what you're presenting to someone that you've actually spent time on. So to have someone that you're potentially trying to convince to give you 6 figures or 5 figures, whatever, they're trying to give you money, and you're going to give them something that you just kind of just did without really paying attention to is a really bad look. And I'm
Right.
not anywhere else in your life, you make typos, nobody cares. This is one of two places where it really matters. So try to make sure you're got spell check on or whatever it may be to avoid that situation. But I will say I do like one thing. He's quantified his achievements. Efficiently processed 3,000 plus applications, currently top 7% of the country. I like when you quantify your achievement as opposed to saying, well, I did this. Like when you give actual metrics, I think it goes great. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I think that's really good. If you haven't had experience in tech before, you clearly cannot write about your experience in tech. But what
Right.
is really good is whatever you have done in the past, show that you have done it well. If you have scrubbed toilets in the past, write how clean those toilets are. Don't be ashamed of it, right? Like my first job was a messenger delivering packages in the heat. And I would just put that, hey, I deliver X packages per day. So just even though you're a club associate, be proud of that. And Sean has done a good job with that here. So good point there,
Yeah.
Danny.
Absolutely agree with that. And so to err on like if you have no experience in tech, what you need to be showcasing are projects that you've done, like showing that you actually have tech savvy. And one great place to do that is, for example, here you have the option to like leave a link to a screenshot of a project that you did or something like that. But you could also add that in your featured section. Make a post showing like, hey, this is a screenshot, this is the code, whatever it may be. And then you can add that to your featured section. To me and everyone that I speak with, this is the most expensive piece of real estate on your profile. This is where most people I talk to, they go here, they go here, they go here. Those 3 steps. So now that they're at the half page mark before they decide to go further, this is your hook, your opportunity to say, hey, this is what I've done, even though I lack experience in this field, but you can easily see right now, hey, I know I'm a React developer. Hey, I've done JavaScript. Hey, I've done web design. And I've got the projects here to prove it. Now you're going to look at my job experience and say, well, he's not experienced as a developer, but we already know for a fact that he knows what he's doing because he's actually proven and produced some projects that actually work. All right, so here's his education, skills, and endorsements. Are you a skills and endorsements kind of person? Does that matter to
No.
you? Okay, what
I
about
don't even know if I believe it. If people get endorsed.
people? I made a post the other day where it was like a bunch of generals walking with like medals like from here down, and it was like how your friends like your endorsements on LinkedIn, like they just go like. But
Right.
I have one question, and I
Yeah.
never considered this, but I was interviewed 2 hiring managers yesterday. Have you ever looked at the interest section of a person before?
I mean, I'll look at it. I give zero credibility and zero credibility, like zero. I wouldn't put too much into it. And as you
Right,
mentioned, the more I have to scroll, I probably might not even make it to interests or
right,
endorsements. And you made a great point. Like I'm definitely looking at what's the title, what's the about, and what is the on the featured. And I'm probably at that point making a decision because there are a million other applications and a million other things I have to do as a hiring manager.
Absolutely.
So down here, I don't even know if I make it.
So I'm going to just throw this out there. Do with this information, chat whatever you want with it. I always thought people skip that section. I was told by 2 different individuals yesterday that they actually look in that section. And one of them specifically, Kristen, that I interviewed yesterday, she says she tries to see if you're following the companies around town to stay in the know of what they're doing. So if you show that you're actually trying to stay informed with local companies, then that lets her know that you're very passionate about the industry. I've never considered that before, but if that's the case, go like a couple profiles from around town real fast and just keep that there. I don't think that would be too difficult.
Yeah, I think the thing for viewers to keep in mind is every single hiring manager is going to be slightly different.
Yeah.
So maybe for Kristen, yes. For me, no. And I guarantee you, by the time someone gets down there, like it'll be like 20 seconds. So I'm just gonna assume that if they're doing a scan, it's not really gonna make that big of an impact. But that's just me, one person's opinion.
All right. So Sean's profile on a scale of 1 to 10, what are we rating this at?
And this is a completely I'll make it like, I mean, the number is gonna be arbitrary, but let's say 7. And what I mean by 7 is like, it's a complete. And for me, it's that number is just completely arbitrary. It's more of a binary to me. Like, will I consider this person or not? So, like, I looked at Sean, and I guess the title could use some work. And there's a typo, so maybe not 7, maybe like a 6 or a 5. But I would say that there's probably needs some work. So you're right, Danny. I graded generously there. I may end up passing on Sean now that I think about it more holistically. But if he were to fix it, I think those first 3 might be, because I think, like, here's why I do grade it pretty high. The about section is actually pretty good. And even with the other sections not being that great, at least I got a really clear idea of who he is and what he's looking for.
Yeah. So for me, my metrics, and we can keep this standard for the next couple profiles. If it's under a 5, that's a no call. If it's a 5, you're on the border of wanting to call. Anything above 5 is like, all right, we're going to call for an interview. And 10 is as close to being like, I need to get them in here ASAP. For me, and I know Sean, he's a follower of mine, I rate this at a 3. I don't think you would get a phone call. I don't know if you would even pop up on the search right now. The only thing really helping you is your about section. Other than that, everything else is really missing the ball. You're not taking advantage fully of the featured section, in my opinion. You need to work on the experience just a little bit more, but this set part is fantastic right here. You've done great with the club associate, but not so great here. And the typo kind of killed me. But other than that, that's where, for me, at least it's a 3 right now, but it has the potential to be a 6 or 7 with these fixes.
Yeah, totally agree with that. And now that we got some of the numbers a little bit more standardized, I would just say that I probably would not give Sean a call, but if he were to fix it, I think there's a lot of potential there. Yeah.
If he had those fixes, for sure, I think he would get a phone call. All right. We've got several messages that have come in. So let me try and go over this. What if you're a career switcher? Is good to have other jobs there? Yes, it is. You need to show that you've actually done something. Especially if you're a career switcher, you need to show that the achievements that you had at that job, you need to quantify what you did. Because if, for example, let's say you're in customer service and you show that, hey, I'm a customer focused employee, I care about customer first, and we go, the distance to make sure we're taking care of them. As an employer, I don't care what employer you are or what company you are, you have a customer somewhere for something. So if you're not letting me know that you put my customers in front of everything else, I can trust you with the products that I'm working on. So definitely if you're a career searcher, definitely have your jobs listed. I don't care what you did, have it there, because they're going to want to know what you did before this. What do you think about that, Eric?
Yeah, I'm a career switcher too. So I was previously in finance. So I definitely put mine there. And I think some employers would say, hey, this person has experience as a professional, and I think that does count as well. So yes, for sure.
Okay, we've got a couple more questions, but Let's see. How many projects is a good amount of projects? Whatever you would put on a resume, on a portfolio site, you should definitely have it. But listen, 100 days of code, keep that on Twitter. Do not put that on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a place where you show your strengths, not your weaknesses. Leave your weaknesses for Twitter, not here. Your job is to show the best side of yourself to be as attractive to somebody as humanly possible. Right now, if you're putting like, hey, I'm working on this, you make me think you're not as strong as I want you to be in whatever I'm hiring for. You could be a great JavaScript developer, but if you show me that you're still learning, I may be reconsidering your strength in that. What do you think?
And certainly, if you're going to show a project, make sure it's a good representation of yourself. So don't be one of those people with 20 repositories on your GitHub that's all a little bit undone, because
Right.
I'll just get completely confused. If you have one good project, show that project. If you have a couple of good projects, show the project. But if I get lost and confused, it's negative points. So however many projects you think are good representation of yourself.
All right. And we've got Jack here. So this is our landing. What do we think about this?
Cool. So Jack Dumleo, I like the banner. I think it's fine. Headshot, I think is good. Developer at whatever company, I think that's good. Shows exactly who he is. And I liked your feedback earlier about putting the technologies, but
Right.
I think that's good.
Because the one thing I would say here, this company name only helps you stand out when people are looking for that company's employees. This is not helping you as far as a job search goes, or it's not helping you end up in any search terms unless they're specifically searching for Meter Finch Limited. But
Yeah,
other
and
than that, here we go. So here's our about section. So what do we think about this?
let's see here. Front end developer based in Nottingham. Okay. I like engaging with tech Twitter and creating mini projects on CodePen. Okay. And there is a list of all the links. So I'm a little, so there are some good aspects to it. So for a front end developer based in location, I think is good, because in my mind as a hiring manager, there's probably a very narrow search that I'm looking for. So I think front end developer, if that's exactly what you are, I think that's good. And then I like engaging with tech Twitter and creating many projects on CodePen. I think that's fine. And I don't have anything against it, but what I would say is if you're targeting specific companies, you just want to put lines there that match maybe what the company is expecting or looking for. I think this line here may have broad reach to tech Twitter. So for example, I'm on Twitter, but I might, a lot of hiring managers might not be. And in their mind, they're just saying like, oh, cool. But there's not a lot of context, and you just took some brain cells to
Right.
do that. I think having a portfolio link is amazing. And Twitter, I probably would put GitHub above the Twitter, and then CodePen. CodePen has code, so I probably put CodePen above Twitter as well.
Yeah.
I may not make it to these other sites, by the way.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you have a link, I may be too lazy or have not enough time to click on the link. So just sharing.
Back to my earlier point, make the information as easy as possible to accept. And the other thing with most hiring managers, when they're looking for a candidate, they're going through 100 profiles in a day, right? They don't have time. There's simply not enough time in the day to give you enough time to be like, okay, we've got 4 websites we're going to check out. Then unless they've realized like, okay, I'm definitely selecting Jack, now we're going to go through all these details to see if it's worth it. But I think one thing that you're really missing out in both sections is matching any keywords at all. Like, what languages that because right now I just know you're a front end. I don't know if that's Angular. I don't know if that's React. I don't know if that's Vue. I don't know if you know SQL. I don't know anything right now from this section besides that you work front end. I don't know if that's UI UX. I don't know if that's, what. Like, there's something that needs to be a little bit more tangible in this section.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, if it's missing, I'm not giving you credit for it. So it's not only the machine keywords, it's the hiring manager keywords as well. And again, I may not click those links.
All right. And so I agree with that as far as this goes. So now, activity-wise, he's got 260 followers. Do you ever go through like their posts and things like that?
I probably would try to avoid it because that's secondary, right? Like number one in my mind is how qualified is this person for the job, and whether you comment a lot or put like really smart posts, that's probably secondary. So if I say this is a very if this is a if I say to myself this is a qualified person, then I might go and look at the activity, but that's not primary for me unless I'm trying to goof off and waste time,
Right.
which I'm not ever. Mostly involved with front end technologies such as Vue, TypeScript. Oh, here we are. I think this is good. If we were able to kind of put this earlier, I think that's important because we went through a lot and probably several seconds worth to find out the meat of what
Absolutely.
Jack is doing. So I help influence decisions around the Mitra, and I'm not really seeing the name properly, so I'm not gonna try to pronounce it. Design system, front end technologies, accessibility. I think that's good. It could probably be a little stronger in terms of how do you influence decisions. I think that's really important. Regularly take the role of scrum master. Okay. He's putting it, and sometimes take responsibility for organizing meetings such as stand-ups, retrospectives, and demos. So I think
He's
all
wearing a
that's
lot of hats.
yeah, like you're wearing a lot of hats. I think you want to more concisely show that, whether it's bullet points. I think there were some brain cycles that I used. So you might just even say, have the bullet points of regularly take on the role of Scrum Master, organizing meetings, stand ups, retrospectives, and demos. You don't have to say that sometimes take responsibility. If you do it on some cadence, just say you do it. And then when I ask you about it, be able to speak about it. And then that's it. Don't make me waste brain cycles.
I will say I do like this section a lot. And like you said before, I wish this information was higher up, and that would have helped, whether it's in his about section or even like in his like I'm a developer, I'm a Vue developer, whatever it may be. So that way he's popping up in a search. But other than that, I love this section. I think this is well done in my opinion.
Yep, I like it too.
And we've got similar situations here. I like it all. This is all going to, even for retail, for the ones that were saying they're career switchers, you can see work part-time at a fast-paced high street store. That these are like the action words that you need to make sure that you're impressing whoever's looking at this. But also, if you don't have tech experience, this is going a long way to let me know that you're very capable in what you're doing. And mind you guys, I'm not speaking from the role of a hiring manager. I've just helped 70 people get their first jobs in tech. I've kind of figured out what works now. And so just take my advice with a grain of salt, but I'll show my profile as well after this. And you can judge whether I'm doing a good job or a bad job or whatever it may be. And we can go from there.
So I'll just add one point on it. And this is a common trait that I find amongst really strong hiring managers is not only will they look for signals in the market, such as let's say number of years of experience or specific technologies, but what I would look for, and this is why you should put previous experience is what is the delta between where they were in life and where they are now. So if you started in having nothing and you had the crappiest jobs and you found a way to not only do your day job, but study at night and become a developer, I'm going to give you a lot of credibility as someone who has worked in a startup environment, because that's the kind of people that I know are going to be successful in working with me. So a long way of saying put that experience and be really proud of it. And that's another reason why you do want to put that experience.
This is a very good question that just came in the chat that I saw. In the work experience, do you prefer a job description as paragraphs, like 5 sentences, or do you prefer bullet points?
I like the bullet points. I start getting lost with sentences. And I think as a rule of thumb, I would generally advise bullet points because not everyone is a good writer, right? Like you might try to do your very best to write the story, and the story may just end up confusing the reader. So I think you end up confusing less when you use bullet points. So I would advise bullet points.
The only reason why I like bullet points, and that is a good point though, which I didn't consider, but the reason why I like bullet points is you've gotten rid of all the fluff filler words. It is direct to the point. I did XYZ. So there's not I'm a emotional, passionate individual that loves to type, code. None of that. It's like I produced 5% return on our business over 6 months. La, la, la. It's very, very, very specific. All right. And so now we have education, very similar area for me. Now, my question for you is, what do you feel about certs?
Yeah, I would look at them. I don't give personally, unless it's something that um was ultra rare or something like that, or I just to make it short, I don't think too much about certs. I just want to know, can this person do a good job writing code and working with me? So yeah,
My whole rule
yeah.
on certs, it's like prayer, right? It can't hurt. So if you've got them, throw it on there. But I personally would not spend any extra money to get a cert unless it's something crazy like an Oracle cert or an AWS cert or something like that. Otherwise,
Oh yeah.
like, don't pay for no YouTube cert. Don't pay extra for like a Udemy cert. If you got some certs, throw it on there because it obviously can't hurt. But if you've got some big ones, okay, go ahead, put it on. I mean, you never know what it could pad.
Yeah, so I'll just walk back on what I said. If you have an AWS certification, put that thing on. It's a great certification, but like
Yeah.
for what I see here, if you did a course on Udemy, I'm not going to give it too much credit. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but you have an AWS certification, or like a Kubernetes certification, something like that, that you need to study months for, and it's very hard to pass. 100% put on. And yes, I do agree. It doesn't hurt you to put it on, but don't waste a lot of time on it.
Yeah. Skills endorsements. He's got a couple people that liked it over there.
Cool.
Now, this is what I was looking for, the projects. So here he's listed projects and he's listed for the C project is the link to that project. Now, what do you think about this?
I think it's fine. I think now that we're doing more of these, I probably wouldn't even make it down here.
Yeah.
And if I scroll down here, like the credence I give to it is probably, I'm not going to pay too much attention on it. So
Yeah.
I think this is
And
fine, but yeah.
you make a very good point, and I'll tell you why. I was doing one of these with a previous hiring manager, and once I dropped this down, she said, "Oh, I didn't know it dropped down."
Yeah.
Meaning, that's letting you know that it's cool to have it there, can't hurt, right? But people like hiring managers are visual people. If you give them the vision of what you made, they're more likely to click on that as opposed to text that says no preview HTML CSS cool tips.css. That's not going to be something that makes them want to click on anything. And then interest, if you take the advice of those previous hiring managers, like some stuff. I don't know. All right. Scale of 1 to 10. What are we thinking about Jack?
Oh, well, like, so what kind of role is this for? Am I hiring for entry, mid, senior?
It wouldn't be. I would say a mid front end view developer. Since that's what.
Yeah, like I would say, and I would say maybe I would say, now that I've looked at the profile, I'll probably would click. I would say I'm a little conflicted after looking at the whole thing. I probably, if it's for a mid-level developer, I'll probably go look at some code. If I have it, yeah, I probably would give this person a chance. Yes, yeah.
I think this is about a 6.5 to a 7. I do think this is definitely, in my opinion, a profile that would match search criteria. And this is me assuming that this is up here where it would match search, like a search that was done. And I do think Jack has enough here to at least get a phone call, assuming the code is great, that would get him at least a phone interview. No in-person interview, but a phone for sure.
Yeah, sure. I can certainly go with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, we have a couple of questions that popped up.
And I'll be more strict on my grading too. I give the first one a very
Yeah,
high score. Just I don't want to hurt any feelings,
yeah.
but
No, it's not about hurting, because I think everyone that submitted this knows that my goal is to make whatever changes necessary to get you a phone call into an interview. Simple as
okay,
that.
okay,
So
cool.
if that's my goal, I'd rather be brutally honest
Yeah.
and let you do what needs to be done. And now you're fighting away offers, as opposed to my phone hasn't rang in 2 weeks. What do I need to do? So
Good
I want to
thoughts.
make those right moves. We
Awesome.
have this question here. Can we use the bullet points for technologies, or is there a better section to use for this purpose? I don't necessarily know what you're meaning. Do you mean bullet points for like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript? If so, I would just leave that on the line. I would not break all that down into different sections personally. But
Yeah, I
what do you
think
think
that's
about that?
right. Yeah, like technology, like technologies used, and then just one line. I think it's fine.
Do achievements outside work have any weight for hiring managers? Yes, achievements hold a lot of weight. And that is one thing that I've been waiting for it to pop up. It hasn't popped up yet. I am a big, big, big believer in doing volunteer work. And here's why. When you volunteer, you're helping your community, which is amazing, right? Like you're doing a selfless act to help people around you. Number two, people that volunteer are people with jobs. Homeless people aren't volunteering. Actual professionals are volunteering their time. So now you're also networking with like minded people that are volunteering. And number three, even if you volunteered somewhere 20 years ago, you could still have that on your resume. So there's nothing in this universe that is a win win win, and you're not getting paid for the volunteer work, but you're getting paid on what you can say about it. Like there's no return that is stronger, in my opinion, than doing volunteer work and having outside achievements, because it will hold a lot of weight in whatever you do. Now that doesn't mean if you won, your neighborhood three-legged race to put that on there, but if you actually did something tangible, throw it on there. What do you think about that?
Yeah, 100%. If it can relate for a couple of different reasons. One is if you do outside work, you're gonna network with a lot of people, which is great. And if you do it, the hiring manager may value that. It may relate to the values in their organization, which would give you a leg up. And whenever I see hiring, whenever I do see volunteer work, especially in teaching code, I highly value that. So yes.
We got about 40 people in here. Hey, everybody.
Hey
In case I haven't said
everybody.
hey to you.
40 is a
All
lot.
right.
Thank you so much. Holy smokes.
All right. So we have this question: do HR managers look if a candidate has a online portfolio, their own domain, other than LinkedIn? I'll let you answer first.
Yeah, so I would say I personally do. And if you are able to deploy code yourself onto your own domain, that's showing me something. If you don't have that skill set yet, that's fine. But I do appreciate if you could put stuff on your own website and deploy your applications yourself. So that's showing me a level of technical competency. So I'll give you some more points for that for sure.
And I agree. So for me, I've got 4 steps, in case you don't know this, on how to get a job in tech, especially if you're a beginner or a career change or whatever it may be. The first is you need to have a killer LinkedIn. Simple as that. 41% of the world's millionaires utilize LinkedIn on the regular. 90 million users are hiring managers, decision makers for businesses, and managers. Why wouldn't you want to be popular where they hang out? Like, if I wanted to go become like hang out with cops, I'd go to a cop bar, right? Same thing here. If I want to be popular with the hiring managers and the recruiters, let me hang out where they hang out. So, step one, got to have a good LinkedIn. That's the first step. The second step is you have to have a good portfolio site. Your portfolio site is your business card in tech. Now, it needs to be very eye-catching. And if you need to use a template, use a template. But it needs to be eye-catching because the average hiring manager knows absolutely nothing about tech. They are there given a job description and they're trying to find someone that does it. But if your site actually looks decent, they're like, oh, this looks okay. You stick in the back of their mind, they may call you. Third, your portfolio items. Now, this is where the hiring, not the hiring manager, but the actual manager is going to go through checking out code. They're going to go through trying to see what you know, what you don't know. That's where you need to really show your technical skill. And the fourth, you need the resume, obviously. Now, like I said before, in case you missed it, I'm not a big person that believes in filling out applications. I'm a very big person in network, pass out your information, and then that will get you into interview one, as opposed to filling out 100 applications and refilling your resume information over and over and over. But this is a great way to go around that. But you still need to have the resume, because when I walk into that interview, I got to hand them something. And one thing that I will try to give as a little bit of information, I never introduce myself in the beginning of a conversation. Haven't you ever been talking to somebody and then halfway through you realize, man, I don't remember their name? When you introduce yourself at the beginning of a conversation, you've given them no reasons to take you seriously or to remember you. I'm a big believer in, I will network wherever I am, and this is even outside of an interview. Let's say I'm at a networking event or at a meetup. I will just start talking to them. I start my conversations in the middle and work my way back. And once I've given you a reason to remember me, I will then introduce myself, and you will never forget me after that. So, like, if you notice, most people when they start their stream, like, "Hey, I'm Danny." I don't introduce myself. Now that you know me, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Danny Thompson. Glad to have you here." But now that you know I know what I'm talking about, you won't forget it. Same thing and this is a great networking tip. That is one way that I've noticed no one has ever forgotten me after we've met at an event or whatever it may be, and I never introduced myself first. So I hope that helps you there, and I don't know if you like that or not.
Yeah, I love it. Professional networker over here.
It's what I do.
I'm learning.
Well, to be honest, I never knew this stuff, and it's just through trial and error, and I saw what worked and I saw what stuck, and I just kind of compounded that. I just want to give a shout out, guys. If you want, this is a buddy of mine named David. He's got a Twitch channel. He's got a startup and all that, and he streams a lot of the work that he does there. So real interesting. Give him a check out if you can, whenever you got time for that. All right. And just to let you know, Eric, if my profile comes up, please hurt my feelings. Okay. I told you, people want the brutal truth.
All right.
And I don't know if your profile comes up. If it's not one of these names, it's not coming up. But if you want to drop that link in the chat, I'll give it a check in a second.
All right.
All right. And I think, okay, I think we're good there. So let's go on to the next one.
All right.
We've got Nicholas Harrington, another follower of mine. I didn't know you live in Tampa. I'm going to be in Tampa in a couple of days. Anyway, so first impressions, what do we think about this section?
All right. We got a banner picture there. I think that's fine. Good. Headshot. I think that's good. Technically advanced professional leading software, hardware installation, maintenance, and technical support services. So that's a bit of a mouthful, and I would say that I'm still processing. So technically advanced professional leading software, hardware installation, maintenance. That probably needs a little bit of work.
Like network, yeah, I would fix that, because even I'm just guessing, like, what is that, like CompTIA or network, or what are we talking about?
I'm guessing he's an IT guy at a company.
Okay,
that's my read so far. Let's see if that's right.
Well, Nicholas, let's just put in the chat what you actually do. And this goes into another point that I want to list out, but please put in the chat, because we both don't know what you do. Don't use a term that your company gave you if it is not an industry understood term. For example, let's say my company called me a software maestro, right? That means absolutely nothing outside of that company. If it's a software engineer and your role is a software engineer, put software engineer. If your role is a UI UX developer, put a UI. Put something that matches the everyday term, because that's what they're searching. They're not searching the funkified names that you come up with. He's a system administrator.
You should just, if you're looking for a dev role, you should just put full stack developer with a sysadmin background. And I'll probably want to talk to you, because DevOps is hard. Like this, I could not figure out. Like, I wouldn't have guessed you're a sysadmin.
So well, we know exactly what the first thing Nick needs to fix right there. But outside of that, now, normally I don't say too much about header images, right? I don't know if this header image is helping you, though, because it comes to me I understand like there you want to be like your unique self or artsy or whatever it may be sometimes, but this is the one place where it's like professionalism kind of matters. I don't know if this is giving the image that you want to give off. That's just my personal opinion. You can do whatever you want with that information. I don't know if this is going to help you though or not. Just
Yeah,
personal opinion.
and I'm learning too because my background is just a picture of like grass in the sun. So I got to learn from this, and I would just echo that it's not like adding or taking away. It's like fine, right? Like it's just okay. And if I were to learn from this experience, I would probably put something that would just give me a leg up
Yeah,
in trying to send the message, the proper message. So I'm learning along with you, Nicholas.
there we go.
Yeah.
All right, so we have the about section. What do we think?
I am an accomplished and technically sophisticated professional offering a strong background in providing system administration and technical support services to a wide range of enterprise companies. I think what like I think the what you have done is good. I probably will want to shorten that somehow because I'm spending some brain power on it. So find a
That's
way
what I
to
was
make
gonna
it.
say.
Yeah.
Nick, you're so smart and so sophisticated that you're
Yeah.
making this so much harder than it should be. Dumb it down a little bit. And I hate using that because obviously the average hiring manager is not dumb, but
Yeah.
I feel like overwhelmed by the words to where to be honest, I was reading this with you. I skipped a lot of it. I didn't even realize I did that until I
Yeah.
realized I was in the middle of the paragraph.
And to be honest, I think if we're gonna get really honest, I think like if you're, I think the words accomplished and technically sophisticated, I'm not sure if it's adding stuff because let me be the judge of that,
Yeah.
right? Just tell me what the facts are, right? If you have a background in providing system administration, like that's a plus, man, because I'm struggling with DevOps over here. So if you just told me that fact, that's a plus. You're a full stack developer, if that's what you're looking for, and I haven't seen that yet. But like that's gonna give you a leg up. I am
And the
a
other thing too, like I would say, like if you are DevOps, DevOps is a huge search word. Like that is a big keyword for employers. Like if that's a keyword that matches you, you need to have that on there. Like you're by using these bigger words, you're not actually using keywords that they would be searching, and that's what's kind of hindering you, I would believe.
yeah.
But
Let me see. I'm a skilled project leader, able to direct multiple tasks effectively. Okay, I think that's fine. It's not really telling me much. I'm currently shifting my skill set towards video game development and design, learning. Okay, you could probably shorten the first paragraph to something like you're a sysadmin with tech support. I think that's great. And then uh, video game development and design learning C Sharp and Unity. I think you want to like get to that a little bit faster because that's that's now helping me paint a picture of who you are. Sysadmin, that's increasing his skill set to C Sharp and Unity. So we want to get to that a lot faster.
yeah. All right, and now we've got our job description area.
Tier 2 computer technician. Okay, I think that's good. In my current role as tier 2 technician, I deliver exceptional technical services to over. I think that's good. I probably would stop using it. To me, it's coming off as like extra
Filler.
words and
Yeah.
filler, and probably I'm guilty of this too. So rip my LinkedIn apart. But I probably want to get to the heart of what you've done faster,
Yeah.
right? Like I think some of what's been written has got me confused, and I may just be like, okay, it's been 30 seconds. I'm triple my time limit
Yeah.
on this
Yeah.
candidate.
I think you've made it very hard to get the basic information that they need to decide if they want to dig in deeper. And it's the same thing here. It's a lot. So I would effectively say you need to shorten this down for sure. Also, were you in the military or were you just working for the military? Can you let me know that? CompTIA, I knew it. I knew it. I guess that. You were in the military. Thank you for your service. I genuinely appreciate that.
So I don't know what CompTIA security certification is, but like you might, if it's like a super wide known certification for security, like you might even put that a little higher. If it's
Yeah.
equivalent to like AWS, because security is a hot word
Well, I
right
think
now
Nick
also.
knows for sure that CompTIA is a big word in this area. And if you were to have that in your about section, that I'm CompTIA certified, that would be huge in getting a lot of phone calls as well. And then we'll go down here, volunteer experience. He was an honor guard member. Again, thank you for your service. I know I
Yeah.
keep saying that. He's done a lot of volunteering. This is fantastic.
Wow, it
Uh,
is.
I mean, and it stands out. This is the first profile that we've come across with volunteer experience, and you can see right away, like it adds a whole section, but it makes you stand out as opposed to just going straight to your skills and endorsements. Because
I haven't even read it
everyone,
and I'm impressed.
yeah. Then we got the skills and endorsements. We've got the courses, which is fine, and then we got the interest. All right. So overall, 1 to 10, what are we thinking here?
I probably wouldn't have made it past about, to be honest.
I hate saying
Yeah.
that, but you're very, very true. Because if I actually spent all the time to go through this, I think I would have, and honestly, I think it would have probably taken somebody 10 minutes to go through everything. And getting someone to actually do that is forget about it. Like, that's not going to happen. But if someone actually did go through all that, I think if you make all the changes that we're talking about, this is an easy 9. But as it is right now, it is a 3 for me.
Your
You're not
skills
getting
are
a phone call.
ridiculous, Nicholas, by the
Yeah,
way,
like,
right?
and you're really hurting yourself by having your profile the way that it is.
You know
Because this
C
is,
sharp. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was going to say, you're CompTIA certified. You've got tons of experience. You've got tons of volunteer experience. You're matching so many buzzwords. Like, it's ridiculous how much you're hurting yourself with this profile, because this is an easy, hey, we've got a job for you. In Memphis, you are a very high in demand person right now. Right now, you are very high in demand, especially if you got the C sharp. It would be almost impossible for you not to be employed in this city. But the way it is now, you would not get a phone call.
Yeah, like if we were having a conversation, like I would probably push people out of the way to come and talk to you. Like this is a good background between
Yeah.
having an IT background, learning C sharp, having some type of certification in security, and just all the volunteer work. So just make it easy for me to say yes on by looking at this piece of paper.
So definitely, I think Nick knows exactly what he needs to do to get to the next stage here. All right. All right. We got Jared Potter here. He's an instructor at Helio Training. First
Okay.
impressions, what do we think?
So banner is the banner. Headshot looks like a selfie. I think it's fine, I guess. Instructor at Helio Training. If you're looking for a full stack role, if you're looking to be an instructor, put Helio and instructor training. If you're looking for a full stack developer role, put full stack developer. And if there's like a secondary thing that's in your identity that you really want to show, then you could say full stack developer with a background in whatever Helio training is. But right now I'm guessing, and this is not adding, this is not helping me. Yeah.
I agree. This area right here, whether you're a career trainer or whatever, this is where you list what you want to get. Like if you're a full stack developer, list that. And here's another thing, drop the aspiring. If you can make a
Yeah.
website, you're a developer. Aspiring is not helping you. You are a developer, list it as a developer. Stop saying, an aspiring a front end developer to land the first job in tech. That's not helping you. Put developer and let them dig further at that point.
100% agree. Can I agree more?
All right, we'll go further. This is the featured section. Now, what do you think about this?
So that looks like a resume of some sort. I probably would not click the featured because I'm on this page trying to read stuff and you're telling me to go read another thing. And maybe it's just like, hey, here's this resume just in case you want to read it. I probably would advise a project of some sort, a blog post of some sort, as like a secondary. But like if you have a project, that'd probably be much better than having a resume.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, this is the most expensive real estate on the page right here. This is where you need to be showcasing your achievements and things that will get people to convert on your page, meaning going from skeptical to interested. And you're not doing that here. If you want to list your resume, you can link that in your like experience section or like in your about section, for example. By the way, there was no about section. I just realized that there's
Oh,
no about section. So you're really killing yourself there. But definitely this doesn't belong here because no one's going to click on it. It's plain black and white text. Nobody cares. No one's clicking on it there. Here's the job section. So he's okay. This is interesting. So he listed instructor at Helio, but he's a software engineer as well presently.
mm. I, I be. This is surprising. I would
I didn't think
probably
that.
plaster all over the walls that you're currently a software engineer. Like, so when I read instructor at Helio training in my mind, I'm just thinking this is a bootcamp grad that, you know, is like paying the bills right now as a instructor at something, right? But you're a software engineer, you got to tell me up front.
Here's the other thing too. Just be honest with me. At this point, let's say you were searching for a software engineer, right? You found this page. Would you have clicked on the page as of yet?
Yeah, and I think that's a good one because like if I'm doing a search, it might just show Jared Potter instructor at something. I might not even make it to this
Yeah, yeah,
page.
you
Yeah.
wouldn't. I wouldn't. Also, you've done yourself no favors by having no description here. The one area that you do have a description is here. So I'm wondering, is your goal to actually become like a bootcamp instructor as opposed to being a software engineer? Because if that's the case, maybe you're doing the right
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, what's your goal there, Jared? Maybe you could let us know and then we could give
Yeah,
more tailored
because
advice.
that's exactly what I think it is. That he wants to be an instructor, and we could be wrong. But as far as I think, maybe he wants to be an instructor. That's the way he's listed it.
Then he's probably doing the right thing by saying
Yeah,
instructor at
because
Helio.
yeah, right now you're not popping up for software engineer. So if your goal is to be instructor, then great. But if that's the case, then why is this even your second job? You should have that here. But I think you're really if your goal is to continue as a software engineer, you obviously have a lot of experience that you haven't listed out. You've worked in several places as a software engineer, IT help desk. You've got a ton of experience, and you've done yourself no help in this area.
Wait, he was a lead software engineer in some
Yep,
company too, right?
for almost a year.
Okay. Yeah, so I think there's some adjustment to be made here. I probably I a hiring manager may not have if you're looking for a software engineering role, we may not have even made it through a search.
Yeah.
May not even found
You
it.
know,
Yeah.
you know how Jared has gotten all his roles. He's filled out paper applications for all of them because I don't think this has had. I don't think this LinkedIn profile is getting the searches that he wants at all, unless I don't know.
And
Uh,
I think the viewers need to learn something. Even if you're not looking for a job, make sure you have a great LinkedIn, because out of nowhere, people may want to throw money in your face, and it has happened to me before. Out of nowhere, I got my first director job. I was a individual contributor. I wasn't looking for a job. A hiring manager went on LinkedIn and said, "Hey, we have a director role open. Are you interested?" And that's how I got my first director job. I was not looking for it. So please, if it's out on the internet, it's working for you while you sleep. Do a good
Also,
job. Yep.
this is free. Like, why wouldn't you just want to make something that's free work for you? And like I said this earlier, I believe a lot of people are like, well, I'm not looking for a job, so I'm not going to get this started now. By having that mindset, what happens is you're literally, when you finally need a job, you're several weeks behind the curve because you're not going to pop up in searches as soon as you make this change. It takes a little bit of time for it to pop up. So you've already delayed yourself a lot of progress by not having it work for you this whole time. And I'm not saying you need to be on LinkedIn every single day making a post. No, no, no. You could be on LinkedIn like once every couple of weeks making a post saying, hey, I did this project in my free time, or this is something that shows that I did XYZ. Simple little thing. All right. He's also CompTIA. He's got everything. He's volunteered, head referee for almost 7 years.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
CompTIA. endorsements. He's got a recommendation. Well, he's given a recommendation, and he's done a lot of courses. All right, overall scale of 1 to 10, brutally honest. What do you think about the profile?
I don't know, probably I don't know, 1. I wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't have made it.
Jared, I'm gonna be honest. That's exactly the number I'm at right now. To 1. You wouldn't depend unless your goal is to be an instructor at a boot camp. You're not gonna pop up on anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw my profile in here.
Oh, let's roast mine also. Like mine is
Okay.
as a business owner, but like I would love to get roasted.
Sure.
By the
Go
way.
ahead and open yours. Let's see. We got Eric, Gong. We'll throw Eric's in here as well. All right, so we'll go over my first.
All right,
Eric, this is where we land up. So what do we think?
All right, so background is fine. I do appreciate like a more professional profile picture. So I do like the blazer. And I guess I normally would not take off any points for a picture unless you're
Like
yeah, like I think I saw that. Like yeah, there's a bathroom, there's a towel, right?
Yeah.
So I think you're putting GDG Memphis chapter founder, software engineer at amazing Memphis-based company.
So
I think
I
that's
had
good.
to hide this information because the internet is the internet, and I literally had people calling my job saying, "I know Danny, I want to apply there," and I was like, "I never talked to this person before in my life."
Okay.
Like, so that's the reason why this is hidden.
Okay.
But otherwise, and that is why I also hid my phone number. So that is why that is no longer on my profile right now.
Okay.
But
Got it.
otherwise, this used to say Java software engineer at XYZ company. That way, because for me, Java is my main language, so I wanted to pop up for any Java searches, and that's what I did there.
Yeah, I think it's fine so far.
This is my about section.
Experienced founder with demonstrated history of working in the computer software industry, skilled in negotiating web design, Java management, employee management. So I think you're sharing a bit of like the founder side of you. So if, as an employer, my mindset. If you were on the market, I'm sure it'd be a little bit different. But I guess you're showing yourself as more of like a leadership side, right, or like business minded side.
Correct.
Yep.
And now this is my featured section. So this is from when I was a speaker at Google. This is when I spoke at a prison full of prisoners that are learning how to code. This is just showing that I wake up 4 o'clock in the morning to code. Just visually, though, what do you think about this?
I think it actually looks exciting. So I would highly advise. Like I don't know, like I'm not reading the headlines, but I think this is just a good way to show yourself off.
Now, just to kind of show that I know what I'm talking about. These are my views over the last 90 days. This is the how many job searches I landed in the last week. So
that's pretty good.
I'm not showing it to be braggadocious, but to say like I've basically figured this out to some degree at this point, to where take the advice with a little bit of seriousness, and that my goal is not to harm you in any way, but it is to show you like, okay, if we do XYZ, it's going to produce these results. It's only because of that. And mind you, I literally started my LinkedIn when I was cooking and frying chicken at a gas station. Like I wasn't a professional developer. I didn't have this huge network. I actually created it because I went to my first meetup and I asked the same question that everyone asks at a meetup. How do I get the first job in tech? And I heard the exact same answer over and over and over. Oh man, the first one is the hardest thing that you'll ever find. But everyone after that will be easy. But I realized everyone else was asking the same question, getting the same answer. This is the worst answer you could have told me, because not only did it demotivate and demoralize me, it gave me nothing to work on. So I went out to create this network, and I started cold messaging and cold calling hiring managers. And at that time, they're like, who is this guy? And not like, oh, I knew Danny from the beginning. Danny's brought me so many employees. Danny's got so many people that he knows working here. It's all because I messaged on LinkedIn. Like, it is so powerful that it's almost foolish not to take advantage of this powerful tool. Now we go to chapter founder. So I didn't have any experience working in tech. So my goal was, how can I make them bite on me, or at least be somewhat interested as someone that works in a gas station. So I started volunteering at my local tech meetup. And so I started then putting down, I led the Code Connector organization. I assisted beginner developers. This gave me something to steer my interview around because this is a strength that I had that didn't exist. So I was literally saying, I was leading beginners. I was helping them out. Now we're going to spend 10% of this interview now talking about that. So even though this is a volunteer thing as well, but it makes me stand out just a little bit in the interview portion. And I'm a big believer in I want to guide the interview to everything that I'm strong about. Because if I go in the interview and it's slapping the face once with strength, slapping the face twice with strength, eventually I'm gonna slap you so many times that you're punch drunk with love at this point. So if I let you control the interview and then you go strength, oh, major weakness, strength, major weakness, you may not consider me. Through a couple certs there. This is from 2019. I mean, that's pretty. It's been there for a while. Volunteer experience. This is from when I volunteered at a homeless shelter. This is when I volunteered with LawFit. It's a host state thing. Then we did Shop with a Cop, where the police collect money and then they take less fortunate people out for shopping for Christmas. So those things there. Then skills endorsements, whatever, recommendations, accomplishments, and then interest. Overall, what do we think about this profile?
Yeah, I think you're positioning yourself as a founder, right? So I think it's a little bit different than looking for a job. Probably if you are looking for your next role, focus on like the software side much more.
So for me, it's not so much the founder, but the leadership aspect.
Right.
So even for my current company, they hired me right away, and within no time I was promoted, and now I've been promoted again. I approach this as I'm a leader, and I don't believe in taking the back seat, but I'd like to sit in the front passenger seat with you, and I'll give you directions if I need to. If you won't let me hold the steering wheel, I'll be right beside you. So that is the reason why I've got a position that way. So that's why I get a lot of offers for manager roles.
Yeah. So let's say I were looking for let's go this route for feedback, right? So let's say I were looking for like a lead, right, or engineering manager. My advice would probably be to instead of using words like founder, I probably switch it with like leadership. Use words like leadership, and then in the job description itself. Of like software, what you are doing as software engineer, be more focused not just on the technologies, but more on kind of the leadership aspects of yourself.
That works. All right, we're gonna go for Eric.
Yes, roast me.
So Eric, we have our initial. The picture is all right, but I would say, and this is the truth, for me, the perception I had of the way you looked is different than what we're talking now. And it's your face is so far away and so small.
Yeah.
That it's called a headshot, not called a stomach shot, right? Like we need to get it more around the moneymaker to make that connection.
Yes, 100% true.
This doesn't necessarily matter, but I would say, like I've said before, it's very important that your immediate hook, because this is the immediate hook, this section right here, right? And I love this. Let's build your engineering team, XVP of engineering and recruiter and founder. Perfect. I would say this is not necessarily helping you. And I would have like an office background or something like that, because you're coming from a very high level professional aspect. That is the reason why I'd say that. I don't normally suggest an office, but in this situation, it kind of paints that picture of you're the recruiter that does the most. You're running your own company. La da da da. So an office photo may be fantastic for you.
Excellent, thank you.
So you got your about section. Now, for me, I feel already this is too long, but and I will say for me, now I was disagreed with on this yesterday. I don't feel your LinkedIn, other social media is different. Your LinkedIn should have emojis. I'm different on that. That is my personal belief. I had Taylor yesterday, which said emojis don't bother him, but as long as they're done tastefully. So for me, if I'm a business owner and I'm like, hey, I need to get Eric to find me 3 employees, hands raised may not be the thing that I'm looking for out of somebody. That's just, again, that's up to you. I run a recruiting agency, very direct to the point. My unique qualifications: in the last decade, I've worn many hats. I'm sure you did, going from junior engineer to VP of engineer. I would have started the sentence here: from junior engineer to VP engineer.
Mm.
I've accomplished a lot. During that time, I've built several teams. It's like direct, boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
That's a very powerful paragraph if you organize that correctly.
Yep.
That's me virtually. This is perfect. And then your website. This is great. I would shorten it up and just make it every sentence be power. Simple
Love it. Love it.
I love the featured section already. This is perfect.
Thank you. Thank you.
I
learned from the best.
You're definitely doing this the best way you can. Like the very first one, former VP, and then boom, you talking. Like this gives me the impression that you give a lot of conversations, you give a lot of talks, and you're an authority on whatever you're doing right now. So I love this. This is perfect.
Awesome.
Your activity, 1,000 followers, which is cool. Founder. I would expand upon this a little bit. Just because this is what you're currently doing. You've obviously left a very high position where you've given a lot of bullet points, right? I would expand on here, like I've worked with X companies, provided this much value. Give me quantitative results on what you're doing. And for outside of like what do you call it? Like a hiring aspect, this is a sales aspect. Like you've brought this much return, you've brought this much employees. That makes me excited in your abilities.
Awesome.
But see, now this is what I'm talking about as far as like, if you have a resume, this is a great way to place this. Or if you got a project that you worked on, this is a great place to place this as well. I love that you put the corporate video there. That's perfect.
Yeah, actually adds a lot of credibility. Like even at integrations QA engineer at Live Intent, they were like the second biggest startup, like fastest growing startup in New York. And it's just like, it just adds credibility to what I say.
Yeah. I love that. Same thing here again. Like this is perfect. So if you're a career switcher and you've done something at your job, list it like this. List your resume there. Don't take up that valuable space on the featured section with that. Skills, whatever. Receive 22 recommendations. I'll be honest, I never really look at this. But if you've got a couple, that lets me at least know someone has worked with you in a professional capacity and that they actually like you. Because your friend may come around and like a couple of these, but they may not take the actual time to list something. I may not read it, but it's still like, oh, okay, at least someone likes them. What do you think? Am I wrong or right?
Yeah, like if I make it that far down a LinkedIn profile and they have some recommendations, I'll probably read it. Because one thing thinking as a hiring manager is not only does the person have to have a competent skill set, they have to be easy to work with. So any indicator of that for me would be really helpful. So it's not always going to be guaranteed. If you have a LinkedIn recommendation, that you're going to be an awesome person. But like it's good to see what people write about you. So for example, let's say Danny is my friend and I'm like, oh, write me a LinkedIn recommendation. You're going to know how genuine that recommendation is, right? Like if it's a paragraph of nonsense, people are going to know it's fake. But if people can actually write good stuff about you, you want to show it. It's a testimonial. So if you have it, it's good. If not, it's fine also.
Overall rating, I would give this like an 8.5 and a 9.
Oh, you're so kind, Danny.
Well, you've got a lot going in the right direction. Like a minor tweak here and there makes this a 10 out of 10 profile for me. But I mean, this is pretty much dead on.
Cool.
So yeah, just those couple tweaks and then you're perfect. We got a couple questions that came in here. Hey guys, should your resume and LinkedIn be different in length? So basically what he's saying, should I copy my resume onto my LinkedIn? For me, your LinkedIn is your styled up resume. Like that is basically where you're putting what's already on your resume, but you're just jazzing it up with content that you're posting, with your feature section and stuff like that. You're hooking them in a different way besides just being a plain resume. So yeah, it should be a different length. But I would say experience-wise, it should be the exact same duplicates. Like, I don't want to see your experience here, and then you give me a resume, and I'm like, oh, this is something completely different. Like, this isn't the same thing at all. Those two should be exact copies.
Yeah, I think the purpose of the two is a little bit different, right? So if you're submitting a resume, it's going through an ATS, right? LinkedIn is not going to go through an ATS. When we're doing an interview, I'm going to be looking at your resume, right? And maybe your LinkedIn, but there's a small chance of that. So like let's say we're doing an interview, I'm going to be looking at your resume to talk through the bullet points of your experience, right? So they're different mediums.
All right. And I'm going to bring this here just to show. Sean wrote in the chat that he updated his profile from what we discussed. Just looking at this alone, what do you think? How much more does he stand out as opposed to what it was before?
It's great. That's
Like,
great. It's clear
like,
for me in under
yeah,
a second or 2 seconds, however long to read.
yeah. And this area looks a lot better as well. You're popping up. You fix the typo. Like, yeah, this is significantly better. I would still expand upon this section. But other than that, and again, volunteer a couple times, get some of that volunteer experience going to help you out. Especially since you're a career switcher, you don't have experience and things like that. That'd be a great way for you to stand out in that regard. We've got a couple profiles that just came in that we can view real quickly. Hold on. So we've got this profile here. So this is Vernachi Lodia. I don't want to butcher your name. I'm sorry, but iOS and embed developer from India. What do we think?
So I actually am a fan, and I hadn't like LinkedIn didn't have this feature when I was a hiring manager, but I actually do like the open to work kind of like overlay. So I do recommend people use that. Don't be ashamed in any way. I like iOS
I
embedded.
think that's interesting, and we spoke about this with Kristen the other day. I like this to an extent. I actually don't like it for the world to see, but apparently there's an option that you can say only have this visible to recruiters and hiring managers. That way, people you work with don't also know that you're trying to find somewhere else. So if you can make that option, I think that goes a long way and would be better than to have this visible to the whole world.
I actually thought it's for people who are out of a job and open to work. I didn't know you could hide it from the current employer.
Yeah. So for me, like if I decide to go working, I've got coworkers on my thing. I don't need them knowing that I'm about to jump ship. Yeah, I wouldn't want that visible.
I would not put that if you are currently working at a company. To be clear, I'll put it if you don't have a job.
Yeah. So overall, this section, and this is the generic LinkedIn background. So what do we think about this?
I think it's actually good. I mean, you're not changing your background. That's fine. Open to work is super clear to me, and you put exactly what you are, iOS embedded developer. Let's find out more. So
here's his about section.
iOS embedded developer resume. I'm not gonna click that. Why hire me? You should probably just put a reason why I should hire you and about. I'm not. LinkedIn doesn't have like clickable links, and I'm not gonna. Unfortunately, there's a small chance of like highlight and copying and going to another URL. So I probably just, if you really want to put the why hire me in the about.
All right, and hold on one second. Okay. Yeah, I agree, and I think we're lacking a lot here. I would be putting like iOS developer that uses Swift and React Native, Kotlin, whatever, but just those languages, so that way you're actually popping up for those search terms as well. That's just my opinion there, because I think right now, unless they're specifically searching for iOS, you might not pop up. But if you're searching for a Swift developer, you'll pop up for that as well. So now we're in the experience section. What do we think about this?
I'd love to learn more. Right. So what I'm seeing here is companies that you're working for, that you've worked for, and I don't really like have any signaling from these companies, right? And I'm not getting any information about what you've done as an iOS developer at this company, app developer, embedded developer. So I see on embedded, I made a pretty UI UX during my time here. I think there needs to be a better description on the something gaming and then Earth Energy EV, electric bike startup aimed at. Yeah, I probably would just put what you've done. So I think there's a lot. You have to make it a lot clearer what you've accomplished at these companies and with what
Yeah.
technologies. Long way of saying it, but we got there.
Got his education. He's got a bachelor's, which is cool, and that's it. So, what do we think overall on this profile? Very little to work with. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I haven't gotten a good understanding of who you are, and I don't think that I would probably spend any more time trying to figure it out.
You know what's sad is I think if I literally said, okay, I need an iOS developer, and you showed up for that search, and I'm like, okay, he's an iOS developer, and then I'm like, okay, he's an iOS developer, and then I get over here, I'm like, you know what? Even though he matched the search, there's more qualified candidates at this point. Even though you have a job history, like you've got what is this, almost 5-6 years worth of experience. I don't think you'd get a phone call from this.
And I wouldn't be able to tell the difference really between you and an entry level developer. There's nothing
Honestly,
here
yeah.
really telling me.
This is honestly probably a 2.5 or a 3 on the scale of 1 to 10 for me. What do you think?
I think there's work to be done.
There's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
All right, we've got Rafael De Leon. He's a New York native like yourself, so he's in the chat. So I think he's still in the chat at least. But we've got the open to work situation. We've got this going on. This is our landing page. What do we think about this?
I think it's a good start. Open to work, open a new opportunity, software engineer.
The
and
only
that's
thing
great. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, the only thing I would say is we've got open here. We've got open here. Do we need it also open here? Like, how many times are you going to slap me in the face and give me a job? So I would say, let's go ahead and take it out of here and let's list what you know. Like, are you a Java engineer? Are you a C# engineer? Like, what main language can we throw right there that will hook them into wanting to dig deeper? All right. That's just my 2 cents.
It's good. It's good.
So now we've got the about section. What do we think?
Yeah, so full stack developer, it's a good start with a background in fine arts. Okay, I think for all career switchers, please steal this. Please steal this. You're a full stack developer with a background in fine arts. I'm guessing this person is a bootcamp grad, but I'm giving you a lot of credibility here for writing a good first sentence. Yeah. Educated at City College with skills in graphic design, acquired skills in a lot of stuff through Columbia University, innovative solving problem with developing apps with cutting edge design, strengths in creativity, teamwork, and building projects from idea. I think this is pretty strong, actually.
Mm-hmm. So do I. I think you're popping up for a lot of search terms here. And I would love for you to have, because you're a software engineer, I would say, well, if you're a software engineer here, then why are you, hold on, full stack developer here? Like, let's be consistent with the terms. Let's not throw two different terms out there. So if you want to be a software engineer, let's be a software engineer. And let's just say software engineer with a background in fine arts. But if you're a full stack developer, let's go ahead and throw a full stack up there. Or you could throw a full stack software engineer or whatever. Or you could say, full stack engineer with heavy emphasis on the MERN stack. But I wouldn't even write MERN. I would write like Mongo or React, Node, etc. And I'm guessing this is MERN, by the way. I assumed. I shouldn't assume because you haven't written express. Well, you wrote etc. So I'm assuming that's what that is. But this is great. I agree. I agree with this first sentence. And, you could have something similar. By the way, I do love this photo. I'm not really like a city landscape banner guy, but this is done very tastefully. So, and to be honest, like if you were to wanted to even steal my idea of having your contact information up here, it would work in this situation. I don't always suggest that, but I think that would be perfect for here.
Yeah.
All right. So he's a full stack engineer. He's currently freelance.
Mm-hmm.
He was a full stack developer before. We have no job description on his freelance. You've been doing this for almost 2 years. My theory would be you've had a client, you've done a project, you've done something in almost 2 years. What is it? That's missing right here. You've done something. What was it that you did?
Yeah, I think the profile, the start was like really strong, and I'm expecting something now, and I think it's dropping off a little bit.
Yeah.
because I think like you come off as someone who's like really proud of what you've done. You've got this like sophisticated flair about you. And then when I see like full stack engineer freelance, like I don't know, are you like embarrassed about it? The 1.5 1 year 5 months? Do you not do much? I think you really need to continue telling the story in a strong way. It just
Yeah,
like
I will.
drops off.
I
Yeah.
will admit this. What's funny is when we were here, I was like, oh, I have really high hopes. I noticed that you missed the whole featured section. I would add that. But then I was like, okay, I'm excited to find out more. And I went here, I was like, oh, he's either done nothing for almost 2 years, or he's failed for the last 2 years, or he hasn't even gotten a client in 2 years. Like, what is it? Which is it here? Because the other thing is, outside of this, you only have a 6-month internship and 4 months as a developer. Like, there's got to be something that you've done during this time period to quantify my interest and the value that you're bringing to the table. And I just want to develop. I would also like, okay, this is a tip that I'm going to give you. So I was approached by Microsoft and I went through several interviews and I ended up turning it down for now. But I do have the option to go back in the future because I'm not ready to leave Memphis. And one thing that they loved about me, and literally every interview I went through 3, they said the exact same thing. You've quantified what you did instead of saying, "Oh, I developed. Oh, I was a part of this team." Like, I was like, "No, I led this. I was part of this initiative, and I was responsible for X, Y, Z." You didn't just develop front end website architects. Like, what did you do? Like, I don't know if you were, not doing anything. If you were at the stand up meeting, I don't know if you were actually developing. Like, what did you do? Give me something tangible that we can talk about in an interview and say, I developed a website for XYZ company and it led to capturing more customers. Or I took over the sales funnel initiative for this website and it resulted in a 10% increase in sales. Like, give me some meat and potatoes. Like, I'm hungry, give it to me. Otherwise, I'm going to go to whoever's got a better meal. Disagreed? Agree? What do we think?
Yeah. I'm totally with you. And I think I would probably be a little bit more specific in those bullet points that you put a little bit higher. Develop front end website architecture. I would probably want to know what that means. I liked design and developed APIs, and that's like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th bullet point.
Yeah.
That's a really strong skill set. I probably would put it higher, and then everything else above it, if it's that impressive to you, be a little bit more specific about what you mean.
Yeah. And see, like, here, you manage and coach a team to implement best practices. You to configure IP connections. Like, you've given me quantitative measurements on what you did. Why not use the same style when you're talking up here? Like, I know maybe you didn't manage a lot of people because you weren't a manager, you're just a developer, but you brought something and you accomplished something. That is also why I kind of tell people, like, keep like a small note. Like, anytime you get something really well done, like, just make a small note of it. And then a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, you'll go through all these small notes of things that you've done that you may have not thought about. Like, sometimes a small win can be a great measurement on a resume or LinkedIn or something like that. And then sales consultant at Best Buy, that's awesome. You got your education here, very well educated, associates, bachelor's, and then it looks like a boot camp. Then we got his endorsements, honors, and interest. All right. So the one thing I would say, you are in New York. There is no shortage in that city for volunteer opportunities. You could walk down the street and find yourself in a volunteer opportunity. I would just do a couple because it just shows obviously a little bit more, and that would pad this section out. But you can network your behind off too. And since you're a freelancer, I'll throw this out there for you. In Memphis, we have a thing called Give Camp Memphis. And what we do here is we dedicate a weekend every year to helping out nonprofits. And what we do is we make websites for them, whatever it may be, because they're not making money. So we want to help them out as much as we can in that process, right? that is a perfect situation for someone like you to be networking. You can network at the soup kitchen or whatever and be like, hey, you may actually need a really good website to help you get more sponsors and donors and donations. I could probably facilitate that for you. I can make this on the weekends on my downtime. Let me make this. You got your volunteer experience. You got some extra freelance experience. You got a new client. A bunch of things can happen off of that one volunteer situation for you. Overall, what do we think about the profile?
Yeah, I think it started off strong, but it dropped off way too
Nosedive.
much. Yeah, so I think it'd be good to go and be very specific about your skills and experiences.
I think up to this section right here, you were probably at 8.5 to me. Everything after that nosedive, and once we got here, I would say you're 4.5, 5.5. Like you're on the border of do I call you, do I not call you? So I don't know if we would or not, because for me right here, this could also mean like, hey, maybe he lost his job and he just can't find another job for almost 2 years. Like you've not given me anything to know that you're actually doing something. So I would say you're on the border of possibly getting a phone call and not getting a phone call. All right, we've got this one last one that we'll do, and we'll call it a wrap after that.
Cool.
So we got Rishab. He's from Ontario, Canada. I love this. No banner, the generic one from LinkedIn, but Cloud Ops Specialist, 3 times AWS certified, 1 time Azure certified. What do we think?
I think that's strong. I hope that Rashab's looking for a DevOps job.
I agree. This is very strong. So his about section, experience in cloud computing and demonstrated history of supporting software, skilled in AWS, MySQL, and Linux, and customer service. Strong support professional with a diploma and computer networking and technical support.
Good. Yeah. I mean, it's specific.
Okay. So Rishab has utilized his featured section. I don't know. I just want to see what this post is. I'm curious for a second. I don't know if this is doing justice for you or not. I like this because basically that's what you're saying. You passed these situations since the pandemic, but I don't know if over here this is translating to that. Whereas over here, this looks so much better. I would probably look at this. I would literally throw these at the front since that's what you're specializing in. And I would have that highlighted here because I guarantee you seeing that will convert more people besides saying, well, this is an empty box. This is some handwritten thing. I don't know if I'd click on these if it wasn't doing this right now. Do you agree, disagree?
Yeah,
Am I critical?
I think I agree there. And I think like sometimes I think LinkedIn has come across as too rigid. So people are trying to make it less rigid. But
yeah,
I would just say that as a hiring manager, just make it easier for me. And if you just put the certifications and feature there, I think it's got to be better.
Yeah.
And put others on Twitter maybe.
I'm also going to assume, I'm assuming this, that you took down your photo since we were going to review this. If that is not the case, we need to get a photo up there. Like this is not helping you at all. Are you a photo person or are you not a photo person, Eric?
Yeah, so I've heard and I've spoken to a lot of candidates about this, and a lot of people want to reduce bias by extracting out their photos. So I don't fault them for not putting one on. I would say that having a photo is better in my opinion. So that's what I would advise. Yeah.
It's hard having this moneymaker has done so well for me. But I will say I do get the whole bias thing. I know for a fact that there's a ton of bias in this industry, which is insane. And I know for a fact there's definitely been some opportunities where, if the skin color was different, the phone call might have been different. I totally get that. What I will say, studies have shown that having a professional headshot does increase your chances of converting that person to discover more about you. And maybe because of bias, but it also maybe because they can. When someone shows up to a job interview in a suit, even if it's a relaxed atmosphere, you know that they're taking this opportunity very seriously, as opposed to showing up and a graphic T-shirt and some jeans. I've seen that time and time again. Even at the gas station, when people showed up to the interview in a suit, like the hiring manager almost immediately was like, "All right, you're standing out above the rest. We're going to give you an opportunity." If it matters there, it matters everywhere. So even if you're showing that you're professional, that goes a long, long way. Just throwing that out there. But we're now in the job section. And this is Print Fleet Advanced Support and Cloud Operations Specialist. What do we think?
I think I'm slightly confused with all these bullet. So okay. All right, now I'm piecing together a picture. I think I think you've done a lot and you want to reflect that. I think if you're able to condense it a little bit more, it will be really helpful to like tell a little bit of a story about you, right? So like I came in 3 times AWS certified, like I'm thinking DevOps, I'm thinking continuous integration. I'm thinking things along those routes, and I'm not able to right now piece together that and this.
I agree. I think first off, I know for a fact Rashab is a strong candidate because I've taken the time. But what I will say is, I think you're losing a lot of the interest in this. I would shorten this up slightly and use more of the action items, and I'll leave the rest of these details for the resume. Let's get them hooked. Let's shorten this down to 3 or 4 bullet points of the top 4 items. Let's see. I don't even know.
Deployed infrastructure with AWS and did continuous integration with Travis, Circle CI, etc.
Yeah.
Like that would catch me. But here I'm trying to say, oh, this person did bits and pieces of a DevOps job. So I think you got to use some of those keywords and be more specific about what you did with cloud infrastructure.
Now here we have a technical support specialist. Also, it's a lot of bullet points. It's a lot. Remember one thing, right? Your job is to give them an overall view, and then you discuss more in an interview. Your job is not to have the interview on paper and then go have an interview. Give them just enough to where you have a conversation afterwards. I think you're giving way too much information to where maybe I feel like you're adding a lot of fill. Like answer customers' question does not need to be there. Ensure that customers are kept up to date all the time. That does not need to be there. Report and track bugs. I'm assuming that you're doing that already. Like these 3 alone are just filling up space for nothing. I want to highlight a couple messages. Adrian came and said, "Thank you guys. Thank you. I'm glad you like the stuff. You're over here." He said, "Good advice," and he's taking notes. So that's awesome. Also, Veron came over here. Thank you, Danny and Eric, for taking this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad you guys liked it. But yeah, and then so what I do like is he went from an intern, he turned into a full-time job, and then he turned it into advanced. But also understand one thing. I don't think this is a title that people are searching for when they're searching for your job. Or are they searching for a cloud specialist? I don't even think it's cloud operations specialist, but cloud specialist or DevOps or whatever it may be, or infrastructure builder. Like you need to use an industry known term as opposed to what your company calls you. I think you're missing it there because that's a high level area where you could be searched for. Whoops, I pressed the company name. All right. Education and customer service. I would have some details here of you working at that convenience store. Also, gas stations united, man. It sounds like you work for the gas station, so we're brothers in spirit. But we got the education between. Now, see, why would you do this? This is free and everyone has it, right? This right here needs to be up here. Like that AWS certified needs to be at the top. These need to be at the top. And Microsoft certified, I would throw that up there too. I would not have free code camp being the number one thing.
The AWS Solutions Architect certification is worth its weight in gold.
Yeah. Like,
put it at the top.
He's saying he can't reorder it. I would figure
Cloud
out how to reorder
practitioner.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
reorder
this
it.
right here, you need to figure it out. Whether it's delete the free code camps and all of them,
Yeah.
and just stick. These are not helping you the same way this is going to help you. And then endorsements, accomplishments. All right. Overall, what do we rate this profile at?
I think I might have dropped off at the job descriptions. Like when it started off, I think it was like pretty strong because AWS certified and DevOps is impossible to find. Right. But I would just say like, hey, like it didn't the descriptions within those jobs did not tell the cohesive story. I need to move on.
Yeah, I think I would say I think we started off at about a 6.5 and then dropped to about a 4. So you're I know with these tweaks though, if you do these tweaks that we're talking about, this is an easy 9. Like this is an easy 9 for sure. Like you've got the experience, you've got a lot of weight on your side. You need to highlight the weight as opposed to the filler and time waste. Remember, leave your information as easy as possible to access. All right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to stop there. Nice work. Thank you. Cool. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Answering this question, skills and certifications are required. They are not required, but if you have them, you might as well show them off. Like, I'm not saying go get AWS certified, but if you did and you went through all that, you better put it in a place where people can value that. Don't hide that. Like, if I went over here and just saw, because this is his problem. This is all I saw, right? And then I saw Seymour. All right, free code camp. Everybody and their brother goes to free code camp. And then an associate Amazon Web Services. So I was like, oh, he didn't really get 3 times certified in what I thought. But then I come over here, it's solution architect, cloud practitioner. Like this is the important stuff that you need to have. That's exactly what you need to do. And when we got over here, thank you guys. I've already made some changes. Thank you. I'm glad that it helped. And sure, thank you, Danny, once again. Thank you. I'm glad this helps. And I love doing it, and I'll keep doing it as long as you guys find value in it. So what I will do and say, please check out Eric's YouTube page. Twitter page. I'm sorry. You will watch this on YouTube is what I was thinking. Check out Eric's Twitter page. He's very active in replying to people, helping them out. So if you make some tweaks to your LinkedIn and maybe you want some advice, or if you think that he can actually help you in finding employment, check him out. Let's see if that's something that you could do. And if so, Eric's your guy, go from there. Anything that you'd like to add, Eric?
This has been a lot of fun, Danny. So thank you so much for inviting me. And thank you for everybody for joining in on the session. This had a great time.
So did I, to be honest with you. So did I. I really enjoyed this. And Eric, I'm sure that we're going to do some more things in the future. But for now, guys, we are off. We are out of here. And I will see you the next time.
Peace out.